larger number of people who are living in a media ecosystem. And I should say, I think it's Fox News primarily, to be sure, but I think we're all in this. We're all in this. Those of us in the media who do both sides headlines, we're all guilty of it. I think we need to, obviously, even in this network, there's been disagreement. I personally would dissent from the town hall tonight, but I don't dissent from interrogating him. I don't think you got to give him platform, give him dessert because he skipped dinner. But I think we should interrogate the daylights out of it. But we need to have a media culture that holds these people to the fire and helps the kind of tens of millions of Americans who have essentially been living in a castle of fantasy to frankly come in from the cold.
Ed Luce, after 2016, there was a lot of hand-wringing by reporters. There was a lot of hand-wringing by people on TV saying, we need to go out to the country. We need to get out of our bubbles. We need to understand what's happening in, quote, the real world. And what I've seen over the past several years talking to my friends is, I'm sorry, it's just the opposite. Like, they are not, and I'm talking about my friends. I'm talking about people I love. I'm talking about people who have helped me with my children, that have helped me in my life when I'm at my lowest point, people that I love. But they are not low information voters. They are people who, as Anand said, have plugged into an alternate reality.
Wrong information.
People who watch information and get a steady diet of information that's objectively false. There's the only way you can say it. They choose to go to sites on Facebook that spread conspiracy theories. The questions they ask me are extraordinary. When you talk about children in cages, they say, yeah, but that was Nancy Pelosi who did that. I said, what, have you not read that people were sitting around a table and they actually raised their hands and voted to cage children as a policy to keep? No, that's not true. That's just a liberal press. That's it. And I could say the same thing about coronavirus. Again, friends that I have known and loved for decades will be on the phone with me and they will say, oh, COVID is no worse than the flu. It's just like the flu, despite the fact that even Donald Trump admitted to Woodward privately, it's 5 times worse than the flu at least. Every doctor they would go to would say that. But they are not low information voters. They are alternative reality voters because they choose to go to websites that tell them lies. They choose to go to networks that tell them lies, that give them an alternative reality that they're comfortable with.
That's absolutely right. I mean, my favorite's probably the wrong word, but one of the ones that strikes me the most, and you keep coming across it, is that it's dangerous to wear masks. And in fact, wearing masks traps carbon, and you catch all kinds of microbes you wouldn't otherwise catch, which is news to the medical professionals who've been wearing masks for the last century. You'd have thought if there were a problem, that would have ceased to be the mainstream medical practice. So, yes, the only sort of caveat I put to what you say is that all of this is available through simple technology on the radio. But Rush Limbaugh says all this stuff too. You don't have to be going to websites. It doesn't have to be digital. It doesn't have to be hyperlinked from one to another. You can just turn your radio on and listen to Rush Limbaugh provide the sort of meta narrative that is then picked up by all the online sites. And the other minor caveat that I'd make is that there are pre-existing conditions that led to Trumpism that have caused people to reject politics as normal. And I think the deaths of despair, the decline in life expectancy, the opioid crisis, the rise in suicide rates in post-industrial areas, all of these are sort of ingredients in the creation of a despair that led to Trumpism, which of course is a cure way worse than the disease. But there is a legitimate crisis out there off the internet in the middle class that's been made worse by Trump, and which Biden is going to have to address. That's, I think, the ultimate cause here of America's distemper.